Welcome to the Nightmare Ronin Army.
Man, look at this place. I don't see anything like this anymore. This town must be at least over 100 years old. 1,000 maybe. I'm just hoping I can find some civilization to find out what goes on. All the stories, all the rumors, all the... Oh, I see someone. Excuse me! Excuse me. Hi. Good afternoon. I'm sorry if I'm disturbing your peace, but I'm an author who has a publisher that works in the city. I'm writing some books about different small towns and the stories that come with it, including possible ghost stories. And one of my readers tipped me off to this place that might have possible ghost stories around here. I was wondering if you have time, which I could see you have plenty of time, but would you kindly tell me about how many ghost stories are in this town?
Ghost stories? Nah, we don't have anything like that around here. We do have the story of Jacob, but that's as close as you'll get. You really want to know? Well, I'm not supposed to tell you, but alright. Just no interrupting. I don't have the patience for it. How to describe Jacob Emory? Well, I guess you could say he was the kind of guy you can never take notice of. This isn't to say he was a bad kid in any sense, no. Many people in this town thought he was the most reliable person for an odd job in the state, but he never really excelled in anything. He was the living proof behind the statement, jack of all trades, ace of none. Most of this was due to his lack of will. He dabbled in damn near everything this town could offer him. Automobiles, radio operation, store management, what have you. But he never stuck with anything. His friends and co-workers went after him about it a number of times, but everybody got the same unsatisfying response. It just wasn't enough. Needless to say, any friends he kept were either very patient or never spoke of the matter altogether. It was probably inevitable then that Jacob would leave to go aboard. I don't remember where he went, but I think Gertrude down the street knew before she passed on. You had to scout someone else if you ever get curious. In any case, no one even tried to stop him. Everybody thought that a little travel would stamp the ambition out of him, or else feed it until it was no longer an issue. Hell, we even gave him a sending off party, which I thought was pretty nice of everybody. So anyways, he was gone for 6, 7 years, I can't remember. You had to check with someone else about that too. Anyways, he came back eventually, and he had changed, obviously enough. He was amiable, energetic, all smiles all the time, and we all quickly learned why. he showed us a souvenir he brought back. A solid black stick, the length of a pencil, but the texture of chalk. We all wondered why on earth such a simple thing would prompt such a spring in his step. Until he gave his demonstration. He took a piece of paper, and with this stick... God, there's got to be a better word for it. With this stick, he drew a crude circle. It dropped and rested on the border of the paper, like a stone. It didn't lead the paper, but it acted out on it, sort of like an old movie projector on a screen. Son, I know how crazy that sounds, and if you feel like playing skeptic, then you can leave an old man to his craziness. But I know what I saw, even if everyone's been hushing it up, and that stone he drew dropped. Jacob even passed around the paper, and as it was being passed, it rolled around as the paper got tilted. None of us had any words for it. Hell, what was there to say? But he continued drawing demonstration after demonstration for us. Stick figures in various pageants and plays, doing everything from fighting each other to making perfect human pyramids. We all thought it was incredible. That was all the go-ahead he needed. He announced that he planned to put on shows to pay for rent and food, where he would draw anything the crowd members wanted. That we talked to some length about, and he eventually convinced us that it would be safe. His drawings ethical, the practice lucrative and unique, and the attention would not go anywhere outside the town's borders. Poor Jacob. If I had not been so swept up in the moment, I might have read the signs right then and there and saved that sorry son of a bitch by snapping the terrible thing in half. But I was younger. We all were. And we saw no problem with encouraging him with what we all saw as an incredible experience to be shared with everyone else. Now, he didn't have any big radio or television connections, mind you, and the internet wouldn't come around for another decade. So he did what all people on a shoestring budget would do. He advised his show with flyers. Flyers may not mean anything to you city folk, but in a small town, they gain a fair glance over from time to time. And what's more, Jacobs managed to stick out by having little figures jump up and down and whatnot to get people's attention. His first show must have gotten nearly 60 or so people. Probably a lot more than that. And his shows were fantastic. Someone would shout out a scene from a play or a comedy sketch, and Jake's hand would fly over a white wall like a bird. He'd been holding back when he made that stone, that's for damn sure. His illustrations were all spot on, and he could make an incredible human figure within minutes. Come to think of it, I don't remember any of his scenes lasting more than 10 minutes to make. They were all really well done scenes too. Not only could you see a knight charge a castle, Jake would draw the castle's interior as well, like a wedding cake split down the middle. So you could see the knight scale the walls, fight his way through levels to the dungeon, fight back out with the princess, and make a leaping jump off the castle parapets onto his getaway horse, all in complete silence. Not realistic, no, but that was part of the appeal. None of us went in there expecting something real. When a scene or a sketch was finished, either the characters would leave off a wall or he covered the wall with white paint. This was good in a way. It gave these shows a time limit, so that when he finished with all the 4 walls in the room, everyone knew the show was over until the paint dried. Jake, meanwhile, was changing in a bad way. I mentioned upon his return, he'd been extremely energetic. Well, that energy, that vitality, or vigor, or whatever you want to call it, it never left him. Not for an instant. Far from it. It seemed to grow in him, and he enjoyed it all too much. His eyes grew wider. He slept gradually less over time. His statements and opinions more radical and frenzied. And though he never was a pushover, he started to make people nervous in his company. A month or two passed, and Jacob's audience grew like wildfire. Nearly everyone in the town paid to see Jake's art in action, and he had to rent out larger and larger places for them to sit. He now didn't stop after one sequence done, no. He moved directly onto the next, put on the next blank space on the wall, sometimes to the intriguing effect of causing scenes to mingle, which the crowd loved. The subject matter got more wild and immoral. The monsters got more bizarre and creative. The fighters using more impossible weaponry, all for the sake of crowd's interests. Jake got steadily more indulgent, which we figured was from the money, and he became a drinker and a womanizer. Neither of which got rid of the vitality, by the way. Some of those women claimed that they had woken up in the middle of the night to see him scribbling with that stick on a drawing pad, a gigantic grin on his face, and while most of them said that they assumed he was drawing them in the nude, there's rumors that one or two of them got glances at that notepad. Those anonymously few supposedly said those drawings weren't nude drawings. But neither of them, whoever they are, will say what he was drawing. Don't bother looking for the notepads or flyers, though. They're all gone now. I'm getting off track. Point is, he was hitting the bottle, and that's important because it was that drinking that will eventually ruin everything. On the night of one of his performances, as he walked in front of his trim crowd, it was immediately apparent to everybody that he was completely drunk. I was in the front row, and I could smell the bourbon on him from 10 feet away. The show started. He went through a bunch of sketches and scenarios the crowd recommended. When at the end, someone asked that he draw himself. Everyone shared the idea. I guess they wondered what his creations thought of him, and he eventually obliged. No sooner had Jacob finished connecting the final two lines on his coat than every single character across the vast, expansive wall all stopped and looked directly at the illustration. Lovers stopped kissing. Clowns stopped laughing. Robots stopped fighting pirates. Everything stopped and looked at the Jacob illustration. The crowd died almost instantly. I remember Jacob's face at that moment, pale white, full of terrible comprehension at his mistake, and looking desperately for the cans of white paint he'd forgotten to put out before the show. Everyone else, they were looking at the fake Jacob. That Jacob reached into his jacket pocket, pulled out a black stick of his own, and as we all watched, drew a door. He pushed on his side and the door swung open, allowing him to walk through the floor of the auditorium. The rest was an absolute hellish pandemonium. People screamed and ran for the exits as Jacob's characters, both those currently on the wall and those which had previously left before being covered up, ran out of their own exit, throwing pies, shooting lasers, blowing fire and poison and the impossible. I was near enough the exit to escape and gave only one backwards glance. The scene will haunt me forever. Jacob Emory was being dragged by his creations, kicking and screaming, through the door his copy had made. The auditorium burned down, obviously enough. But I had no idea how many characters escaped, what had happened to the fake Emory, or how many people died. The fire brought the fire department from the nearest cities up to over 100 miles away. They in turn brought the police force, which brought the government, which hushed up everything. They took the flyers and any art Jacob had made and swore everyone to secrecy, or else life detainment. The fire was blamed on a cigarette in the garbage during a basketball game, and we all eventually went on with our lives. Jacob was made to never have existed. In retrospect, I realized everything. Jacob hadn't been creating illustrations. Illustrations don't move, much less act or attack. They're just images people see. Shadows made to look like real things. Jacob had been making life, actually thinking things in some alternate dimension, using a power that was never meant to fall to mortal hands. He got drunk on his power. His punishment was probably well deserved. Incidentally, the government screwed up on 2 different accounts. They did a damn good job silencing everyone, but proof remains. The ruins are still there, you know. The auditorium ruins. I hear they're going to start reconstruction soon, which will wipe out any remaining evidence someone can definitely see. But I went back there once, several years after the fire. Just once. Amidst the rubble, covered in ash, I saw something squirming. I looked closer. It was Jacob Emory's hand on the wall, exactly like it had been 3 years ago. Sweaty and calloused, I remember. But it was constantly flailing, as if the body it was supposed to be attached to was still writhing in flames. That was mistake number 1. Number 2 was those creations. Like I said, I don't know how many escaped, nor how many government agents found and caught, but I will say this. Those tall grass meadows on the outskirts of town, don't go to them, ever. You were asking about those white figures you seen at night, right? This town doesn't have ghost stories.
Okay. I think I got about everything that I need. Alright. I might check out the old ruins in a little bit, but thank you for everything, and I'm sorry to what happened in this town, and sadly what happened to Jacob. And I'm going to try my best to not mention any other shady secrets around here. I'll just tell them there's just ghost stories. Everybody loves fiction, right? I'll leave you alone now. Wow. A charcoal stick that can be magic. And figures in the field. Man, that's a stranger story than what's been going on at that gas station at the edge of town. I know the old man told me not to go there. But then again, surely it wouldn't hurt to look. And with that, our story comes to a close. I'd like to thank everybody for showing up to my premiere. And to those who missed the premiere and just now watched the replay, thank you for watching. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and enjoy. And don't forget to katana/that bell for notifications. And don't forget to check out my social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and any other social media I'm involved in. Links will be in the description down below, along with my link tree. If you'd like to represent the Nightmare Ronin army in style, please consider visiting my merch store at Teespring. The link will be in the description down below. Until next time, I'll be seeing you
in the shadows.